Hi, this is Rebekah.
And Leslie.
With the Geeky Girls Night In podcast. Geeky Girls Night In is a podcast with your fandom family sleepover style.
Empowering fans and creating inclusive fan spaces where we can all be ourselves.
So get your jammies.
Grab a drink.
Gather the fur babies.
And join the conversation.
Hey everybody. Thanks so much for coming back today. I'm so honored you're listening. I'm so happy you're here so that we can talk about and generally be super extra about sci-fi fantasy. This week, Leslie is being super fabulous in Cuba. She is going to be gone this weekend next. Definitely check out the Facebook, the Instagram, because she's already posted a lot of really funny and cool posts. She's making friends, having a good time. You don't want to miss that. And then sometimes Quinzel steps up as Quinzel is at TwitchCon. So basically, everybody's being fabulous this week. So I'm holding it down. I hope I can still give you an entertaining and fun episode, and we can still be nerds together. So this is the last episode before Halloween. So I would love to know what kind of Halloween traditions you guys have, what you're dressing up as, and super, super bonus for any pictures of dogs, cats, or babies in costumes. That is my favorite. So I'm going to tell you what I like to watch Halloween every year. I'm going to give you a Daredevil review for season 3. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet. I'll make it spoiler free. And a Good Place review because frankly that show's just getting better and better. And a book recommendation of a fantasy book that made me laugh, cry, howl out loud. I was listening to it in the car, actually, the audio this weekend, and my son, it would make him take off his headphones every once in a while to go like, "Are you okay, Mom?" "Yes, I'm fine. It's okay." So we'll get to all that good stuff. First, some book giveaway announcements. So, Goodreads does book giveaways from time to time. And there are 2 books right now, fantasy sci-fi books, that are doing a giveaway that, you just have to go enter. One is The City in the Middle of the Night by Charlie Jean Anders. And she is really an amazing author. You really want to go check that out. And also for The Kingdom of Copper. So The Kingdom of Copper is by S.A. Chakraborty, and that's the sequel to the book that I'm always raving about, which is The City of Brass. I would go enter that giveaway too. I'll put the links in the show notes, but you can also Google, Goodreads giveaway The Kingdom of Copper or Goodreads giveaway The City in the Middle of the Night. So those are 2 absolutely brilliant authors. NaNoWriMo is coming up soon. So if you're not a writer, NaNoWriMo happens every November. And anybody who would like to write a novel, basically you try to get a novel written during that month. It's big, it's international, it's all online, and you get goals and you try to achieve those goals. And basically it's a way to get you to sit your butt down and actually write. I think I am going to do that. Some of you know I've been writing my first novel, and it has been much more challenging than I expected. And I'm just really trying to stick with it because it's just easy to kind of let that self-doubt creep over you and just kind of become paralyzed. But I'm just trying to remember that, you have to learn to do something. There's a first time for everything. And there's going to be a learning curve. If it were easy, everyone would do it. So the novel I'm writing it's about a teenage girl who realizes she has the power of flight. So this is set in our time in Southern California, just a few years in the future. And the border wall has been built in the southern border. She is a teenager she's a foster kid, she's homeless. She decides to make a living by flying immigrants over the border wall to reunite them with their families. And of course that becomes dicey and dangerous. And at first she does it just to earn a living, but when she meets some of these immigrants and when one of her best friends is put in danger, she learns that she can do a lot more with her powers than just make a living. So it's called Border Angel. And I'm really enjoying writing the characters, getting to know them. But, it is a fairly complex thing I've tackled, and it's my first time. So I'm just going to stick with it. If anybody else is doing NaNoWriMo, let me know. If you have any They do have teams, I think. I think you can join teams. So if you have a team or you want to start one, let me know. And let me know what you're writing, because I love hearing what other people are up to too. So for event announcements, there's some really cool things going on. So some of you know I am a big Winona Earp fan. And Dominique Provost-Chalkley, who plays Waverly Earp, and she is just a wonderful, positive, kind darling. Just, you can't say enough about her. She has a horror movie that's been playing at film festivals, and it's actually, they're doing a Halloween screening in White Plains, New York. It's called Buckout Road. It's based on a real life road that has a lot of interesting history and a lot of urban legends surrounding it. And so if you're in White Plains, New York, lucky you, you can go see it. I'll put a link to that. And then this weekend, October 26th, 27th, 28th, is LA Comic-Con. And for those of you who are going, who are Supernatural fans, they are doing a reading. It's called Flip the Script, Supernatural. It's a gender-flipped reading of the season 5 finale, which we know is Swan Song, which we know is one of the best episodes they've ever written. And I could watch it a trillion times. You really just have to watch the episode to understand how special it is. And it would be really cool to go to a reading. And of course, I'm always up for gender flipped, and just kind of playing with original text and things like that. So that's actually happening Saturday, October 27th at noon, room 404, if you're going to LA Comic-Con. Another announcement for Supernatural fans, if you have not heard, if you have been under a rock, our absolute favorites, Kim Rhodes and Brianna Buckmaster, who are just two incredibly badass women who are honest and funny and authentic and brave, and I just love them both. We were really hopeful to get that spinoff, Wayward Sisters. The CW passed on it because they are terrible. And so, we were kind of thinking, where's the Wayward movement going to go? What are we going to do? And Kim and Rihanna are going to do a podcast. And I'm telling you, sign me up yesterday. I'm going to listen to every episode. Even if you haven't watched the show, I would check out the Wayward podcast, because they are just the most just down-to-earth, authentic, hilarious, uplifting, empowering women. So I can't wait for that. Now, that's kind of the announcements. I have a few reviews / recommendations for you guys. So I don't know if you have read The We Free Men, or actually any of the Discworld novels by Terry Pratchett. I know he's wildly popular. A lot of you probably have. I had not. Now, what I was looking for when I decided to read this book, I was actually Googling cozy fantasy. I don't think that's a genre that actually exists, but I was just trying to find something that isn't brutal or bleak or depressing. There's a lot of dystopia right now, which is totally understandable. And actually what I'm writing is somewhat dystopian, but I was just feeling, blue, depressed, overwhelmed. And I thought, I just really need something that's kind of like the stuff I read when I was little, that is kind of uplifting and not too, I guess, brutal or bleak. And so I didn't find too many results of cozy fantasy, but I actually did find one person on a board somewhere that had posted that and called it the same thing I did. And someone had said, well, you need to read Terry Pratchett. Now, of course, I've read Good Omens, which Terry Pratchett wrote with Neil Gaiman, and absolutely, loved it. It's friggin' delightful. And basically, they're like, that's Terry Pratchett, if you want something that is whimsical and uplifting and funny and, And so what I read is that We Free Men, so the Discworld series, which is incredibly popular, and that is the series of books that Terry Pratchett was probably the most famous for, other than Good Omens. But 41 novels. It's a lot to get through. And I was told The We Free Men is a good standalone, and it's going to be that kind of book. So I checked it out, an audiobook from my Libby app, which I know I can't stop telling people about, but the Libby app, it's a free app. You can put all your library card numbers in it, whatever libraries you belong to, and then their entire audiobook collection is there at your fingertips in one app, and it checks out and returns the books for you, so you never get late fees, which I need. So actually I listened to it in the car this weekend. So this weekend I went to Vegas. I took my son to a wrestling tournament. So it wasn't kind of your traditional Vegas trip. It was pretty much just me in a convention center watching wrestling. So, but it's about a 4-hour drive. So I got through the whole book. And it was definitely everything that people said it was. And I think if you've read Good Omens, you would love The Wee Free Men. Not that the plot has anything in common, but you definitely get Terry Pratchett's voice. So it's about a girl named Tiffany who lives in a place that I think it kind of reminds me of how you describe Scotland. And it's, lush and green. And her granny, who's now passed away, was a sheep herder. And she basically starts realizing that maybe she's a witch. And she meets a witch, and her suspicions are confirmed. But the way this book talks about what being a witch is it's so amazing. I've heard that the most effective way to write magic or magical realism is to write the natural as something amazing and special, and to write the magic part as something that's kind of a given. And it definitely intertwined the two, where you were kind of wondering, is this magic in the sense that I would think, something that's supernatural, or is this something that is just beautiful, that can be beautiful about humanity or nature, and we're finding magic in that. Sometimes, a lot of the times of the book, that line was sort of blurred. But a evil queen kidnaps her brother. So she decides to go rescue him with the help of this race of wee men. I think they were 6 inches tall, and they wore kilts and had red hair and pretty much like to fight. Just they love to fight and drink. And they are hilarious. I mean, I died laughing. These little wee men are hilarious. And so with their help, she goes to rescue her little brother. And once she goes into the Queen's world, it becomes very surreal. It goes from being kind of very earthy, sort of rural community that's very plain and simple, to this world that is very surreal and bizarre. So there's a lot of difference between the two. And the Queen's world kind of reminds me of reading Alice in Wonderland, because things are you just go from one bizarre, surreal thing to another, but it's also just really delightful. So if you want to read a book about a witch girl and this race of wee men, and you want it to be humane and touching and hilarious and magical and delightful, definitely read The Wee Freeman. And I'm definitely, for Terry Pratchett fans, I'm definitely going to keep reading them. I'm going to keep reading the Discworld novels, because it's something that makes you feel that good and uplifted. How can you not want more? So I'm not sure what the next one is. I've got to look it up, but that's definitely what I'm doing next. So for TV, TV recommendation, and this is a fantasy TV show, so The Good Place. I know it's a comedy, so it's hard for people to think of it as fantasy, but it is. There's a heaven and hell, there's demons, It's just a comedy, and it's presented in a very realistic setting in a lot of ways. So, The Good Place, if you haven't seen it, is about Eleanor Shellstrop. It starts off with her. She's played by Kristen Bell, but at this point, she's just a fantastic comedic actress. And she's a self-described Arizona dirtbag who accidentally gets sent to heaven after she dies. The idea is that during our time on Earth, our good and our bad deeds sort of just add up. And by the time we die, they kind of tally it and go, okay, where are we going to send that person? Well, she ends up in heaven incorrectly, and Ted Danson is there, and he built like a personal heaven, and there are soulmates. And she begs the person who is supposed to be her soulmate to help her be a better person, because basically she doesn't want to tell them there's a mistake. She doesn't want to go to hell. And lots and lots of hijinks ensue. And so the show really has the plot, which is very, I mean, you do kind of have to say hijinks. I mean, it's just freaking hilarious. And then it also has the arcs of the characters as they each try to be better people. And it's truly an ensemble cast. And it's one of those things where every character, you can't decide what's your favorite. They're all your favorite. Because as soon as you say one's your favorite, you're like, oh, but this other one, they're so great too. And so it has their arcs, and then also kind of this underlying question of what it means to be human, what it means to be good. Is redemption possible? But they explore it in just the most hilarious of ways, and it manages to be so multi-layered, so silly and funny and ridiculous, but also touching and heartwarming. And last week they had an episode called Jeremy Bear Me, and Chidi, the character Chidi, I feel really stole that show. They were tweeting a lot about it because he had a shirt off scene and he's supposed to be the nerdy professor. And of course he's completely ripped and everyone was freaking out. But also just his acting in that episode. I mean, you're just laughing through the whole thing. So everybody I know who's watched The Good Place loves it. So definitely try it out if you haven't. The first 2 seasons, I believe, are on Netflix. I've been watching the new episodes the day after on Hulu, but it's hard to wait till the day after. So, and it's hard to review the latest episode without spoiling everything else, but I'm just going to say, definitely watch it. Ted Danson, I don't know how you get any better or funnier than him on this show. He was nominated for an Emmy. He didn't win it, but he definitely deserves it. And then my last, I guess, review/recommendation before we get to the Halloween section is Daredevil season 3. So I have really loved watching the Marvel shows on Netflix. There was news this last week that they have canceled Luke Cage and the Iron Fist. And a lot of people are upset, but a lot of people are also saying, well, it's probably because Disney is launching their own streaming service and they're going to take all of these properties back little by little. So that could very well be it. And we may see Luke Cage again, I don't know. But that also makes people worried this is the last season of Daredevil. And if it is, that, I mean, they would have ended it well. So the first season of Daredevil, I think, is one of the best seasons of any show on Netflix. And one of the best seasons of any show ever. I mean, it just strikes so many perfect balances. The fight scenes, the action is so inventive and exciting, like you're holding your breath. And Daredevil is a great sort of superhero because he's very human and he cares very much about bettering the city. And he's a lawyer during the day and blind. So people kind of have him pigeonholed and that. And then at nighttime, of course, he's a superhero vigilante. So and then of course I liked Foggy and Karen. I thought the first season was flawless. Second season, I wasn't as excited about. They did have the Punisher in it who completely stole the show and he did a great job. But the other elements I was less excited about. So this season I was kind of, okay, what are they going to do? Is it going to be like season 2 or is it going to, kind of get as good as I remember it to be? And a lot of people were saying that it was great. So I went and tried it. So like I said, this weekend I went to Vegas for the wrestling tournament and, I couldn't really just at the last minute get a hotel room in Vegas. So I talked to my friend Kim, who is actually one of the founding writers or bloggers at Geeky Girl Guide. Hi, Kim. And she very kindly allowed me to stay with her. So after the wrestling tournament, I go to her house and we would just cram in as many Daredevil episodes as we could. And I'm just telling you, there's really not much better in life than sitting on a comfy couch with one of your favorite people, just binging Netflix. So that was really fun. So in my view, by the end of season 3, I thought it was a huge accomplishment. So I felt that it started slow. The first 3 episodes, I was kind of, because basically the arc this season, according to the trailers, is Matt Murdock or Daredevil? I just call him Matty because, we're on that kind of first name basis. Is he going to, quote unquote, become the monster? So this is very, very worn trope with superheroes. So I was kind of, okay, open-minded. But the idea was that Wilson Fisk got out of prison, or at least was put in this sort of cush house arrest. And then Daredevil is sort of pushed to this place of, well, I got him put in jail, but he's out again. It didn't help anything, so now I have to kill him. And I'm not spoiling anything because that's all in the trailer. Everyone's like, oh, be careful. Don't become the monster. And so maybe it's watching too many seasons of Arrow, but the tropes I'm tired of are, should I kill? Should I not kill? Does a good guy ever kill? Do they not kill? I'm going to kill. I'm not going to kill. Freaking Ollie, make up your mind. Okay, that's Arrow. And the other one is, oh, I should date you, or I should be your friend. Oh, no, I shouldn't. I should avoid you because my life is too dangerous and I have to protect you. Wait, no, I definitely we're going to be friends. That's another trope that I get tired of. And I felt like that was also going to be part of the season. Because at some point you're like, Jesus, just decide. Be their friend or don't. But look, to the superheroes of the world, the moment you met them, they became in danger. So ignoring them or deciding not to date them doesn't help them or anybody else. I mean, there was just so many tropes. Maybe I've just been watching too many superhero things lately. Because also in the trailer, you could see Fisk trying to sort of frame him like, oh, he's really the bad guy. And that also happens every superhero thing. Is like, is the vigilante really the bad guy? And we're going to fight for public opinion. So actually, it sounds like I went into it very cynically or negatively, but I'd like to think I went in with an open mind. But the first 3 episodes did feel kind of slow, did feel like, okay, Maddie, you're so emo. Oh my God, because he's already a super emo character. And then if you've already got him there, then you've also got him going like, I'm losing my faith. And am I going to become the monster? And, he's Catholic. So he's just like the Catholic guilt on top of everything. But I think it was just a little bit slow though, because episode 4 and on, I started getting really grabbed. And I'm telling you, the fight scenes, there's this one scene in the prison that is literally one take. And it is shocking. Can't even imagine how much work went into that, how talented these fight choreographies are. But there are so many just thrilling fight scenes. And then also, I found they didn't belabor any of those points too much that I was dreading. Like, should he kill? Should he not? I mean, that was part of it, but it wasn't like he was just sitting around being emo about it all the time. So, because there was so much else going on. There was Agent Poindexter, which he is going to become, I think, another sort of person in the rogues gallery or the villains eventually. We had his backstory where he's just this psychotic guy. I would almost think of him, I don't know if I want to say Dexter, but someone who deeply lacks empathy and is either needs to or is fine with killing people, but is trying to learn not to. Is trying to keep himself from going down that path. And to me, it was really engaging. Like, I really got sucked into that, watching him sort of struggle with his nature, struggle to hold on to like some kind of foundation or core, and to see Wilson Fisk trying to manipulate him or take him apart. I mean, that to me was very effective. There was also a lot of Karen backstory. I feel like a lot of people hate Karen. I don't. I think that Karen and Foggy did become sort of annoying in season 2 and in the Defenders, but I'm the kind of person that once I love a character, if they become annoying, I just blame the writer. Like, well, they should have written that character better. And it's true. Sometimes you don't give someone enough motivation. You don't explain their motivations enough, or you don't really give them any motivations. Yeah, they're going to do stuff that's really annoying. And at some point, I think during Defenders, they're just always freaking out about Matt being the Daredevil and don't go out there and don't do that and stay safe. And at some point you're like, guys, that's who he is. Like, what are you doing? At some point it just seems ridiculous. And they stepped away from that this season and really, they gave Karen amazing development that I thought was interesting and really went a lot towards explaining a lot about her character. Foggy didn't get as much backstory. Well, maybe he didn't get any backstory, but he did get something to do, and he was sort of the anchor, I would say. Kind of the maybe calm in the storm between Maddie being emo and Karen just being wildly terrified and determined and, I don't know, kind of willing to do anything it took. There were a lot of heart-rending scenes. There's a lot of violence. There's also a lot that is satisfying. And of course, Vincent D'Onofrio was amazing as Fisk, as always. He's always, you can't stop watching him. He's just so good. He's so magnetic and creepy. He plays a freaking amazing bad guy. And I wasn't even excited to see, everyone was excited to see Fisk again. I hate when people bring back the same villains because I'm like, I already went through this emotional arc with you. Like, so none of that. You're just going to roll back everything we did. But actually the way the plot was, that was kind of the point. And Matt was going through the same thing. So that made sense to me. And you can't really miss with Vincent D'Onofrio. So I highly recommend it. And if you find the first couple episodes slowed, I would say just stick with it. And so I definitely by the end was in agreement with everybody I saw out there who was saying, absolutely watch season 3 of Daredevil. I'm just going to join that chorus and say it's intense. I was yelling at the TV. Me and Kim were like yelling at the TV, just gasping and on the edge of our seats. So I would say that's about as effective as it can be. The next thing I'm going to watch, so it's called The Haunting of Hill House, and everyone is saying it is terrifying, disturbing, all kinds of stuff. They couldn't sleep afterwards. Now, I'm not into a lot of horror because I don't like gore, I don't like torture, I don't like anything rapey, so there's a lot of things I just don't watch. But I was told that there's not a lot of gore and that I should give it a try. So I'm going to watch it. So I'll probably start on Friday. I will tweet. My Twitter is rmaxlyn, RMAXLYNN. And maybe I'll tweet on the Geeky Girls Night In Twitter as well. So I will tweet my reactions to that. I can be a wimp, but I'm going for it because everyone's just too excited about it. And that's how I am. I'm not a first adopter. I wait for people I like and respect to tell me. If I know we kind of like the same things, and I just wait for other people to tell me. I'm not, but I don't have a lot of time. I have a full-time job. I'm a single mom. I don't have a lot of time. I would rather know I'm going to enjoy something. So I honestly, and also I just get really bad FOMO. Like everyone else is enjoying something. I want to see it too. And that's just how I am. And then the other thing I watch, so like I said, I'm not actually super into kind of extreme horror. I have watched horror movies. I've really liked horror movies, though I generally wouldn't watch them twice. I watched The Babadook. I watched the others. Things, like I said, that aren't like gory, I'll watch. But what I actually enjoy watching are the ones that are, if I want to repeat watch, it's going to be something that's not as challenging. What I actually love to watch every year for Halloween are the Buffy Halloween episodes. I know. Don't be shocked. I never watch Buffy. Actually, so I really don't like watching things twice at all, because when I go through any kind of emotional journey, because I get my emotions into what I'm watching, I don't want to go through it twice. It irritates me. Like I went through that, and I don't know. I don't like it. So, but Buffy is for whatever reason exception. Buffy and Angel, I can watch both of those over and over and over. I can actually do that with quite a bit of Doctor Who as well, but. So Buffy has, in my opinion, the greatest Halloween episodes. Buffy and Angel, to be honest. Buffy season 2 episode Halloween. Buffy and her friends, this is when they're still in high school, and the principal forces them to volunteer to take a group of kids trick-or-treating. They all get their costumes at this new costume place in town. I know. Trouble. And basically they all turn into whatever they're dressed up as. And it is hilarious. Also scary, but it's a classic freaking episode. So Buffy's dressed as like this sort of debutante, and she could become someone completely different. Cordelia is the only one that doesn't change into what she's dressed as. And so they kind of figure out, oh crap, it's that new costume shop. And so they're all sort of race against time before everything gets too chaotic and people get killed. They have to go figure out what's going on. And all the little kids turn into what they're dressed as, which is funny or creepy. It just depends. It's a great episode. And then Fear Itself is another Buffy episode that's Halloween. So they're in college. They go to a haunted house frat party, and a summoning portal was copied from a book because it, quote, looked cool. It's accidentally activated by a drop of Oz's blood, and it makes everyone's worst fear come to light. So we learn about Anya's fear of bunny, which I thought was a little overly cutesy until she really seemed to explore it more. I really bought her fear of bunnies after a while. I mean, what do they need such good eyesight for? Anyway, indeed. So kind of the Scooby Gang is trapped in this haunted house, and all of their fears are being manifested. And so you get a lot of character development. You get a lot of creepiness. And there's even a little bit of humor and snark like Buffy is. If you watch Angel, their Halloween episode is one of my favorite episodes. So season 5, which is the best season of Angel, episode 5, Life of the Party. So they've taken over Wolfram and Hart. And by the way, I'm getting my summaries from Den of Geek. They have a great article kind of summarizing these things. So they're trying to play nice with all the evil demons and creatures of the underworld that they have taken over this evil law firm. And Lorne, who just wants everything to work out, has organized a Halloween party. And unbeknownst to them, because he's been so busy and putting so much pressure on himself, he had his sleep removed to help him cope. But he is an empath demon, so subconscious manifests as a killer beast, and everyone around him starts doing his unwitting bidding to hilarious yet deadly effect. So there's humor when people start doing his bidding subconsciously. It's also challenging and disturbing because they are now parting with people who they find repugnant. One of them, brings his slave. Another one of the demons is dressed up as a human, and you realize, oh, they actually skinned a human. So it's gross, but it's also funny, which is kind of a classic combo. And as they try to figure out what is going on before more people die. And then, of course, Wesley and Fred have a drunk scene, which is also really cute and funny. So it's just a flat out great episode. So if any of you want to watch those with me, we can kind of live tweet. But those are my favorite Halloween watches. And I am looking forward to it. I'm probably going to dress as the 13th Doctor. Why? Because I already made the show. I'll be honest, I'm the kind of person that is excited about Halloween and swears every year they're going to dress up, but I literally never do because I never actually put the time and money aside because there never seems to be enough of either of those things. But since I made a shirt, yes, my first shirt that I made, yes, for when I met Jodie Whittaker, because I have to brag about that, but I have it in the closet still. And so I will probably just go for that. One year I would actually really like to be General Organa, because I love Carrie Fisher and I love that character. So yeah, I think that's all that I had. Oh, I did want to tell you guys one thing before I go. You guys all know that I'm obsessed with Lin-Manuel Miranda because he's quite literally the best. And so his book that he wrote with Johnny Sun came out this week. Well, he wrote it. Johnny Sun did the art. So it's a book of his tweets that are good morning, good night. So for the past couple of years, he does a tweet in good morning and he does a tweet at night. And both of them are very small tweet-sized messages. And he said he actually wrote them to himself as far as what he needed to hear. But then, of course, other people started loving and benefiting from them as well, and it became like a super, super popular part of following him on Twitter. I'm going to read one that he actually tweeted, was it today? Because I just felt that it was so incredibly applicable to nerds, because he is a nerd. Like, he's a Latin nerd. I mean, I don't know how he keeps up on all the pop culture he does, because he's so busy. But I do feel like it applies to me very much, and probably to most people listening, because if there's one thing that weirds people out about nerds, is our unfettered passion. So he wrote, "Good morning. You're a lot. You have no chill. You're so extra. These are all compliments. Apologize for your passion on the day after fucking never. Let's go." I read that and I was like, I need to learn to cross stitch so I can put it on a pillow, because like that's something. I think being Latina and also being a nerd, I have a lot of passion. I remember meeting someone at a party who only knew me from Facebook previously, and she's like, "Oh, you're Rebekah Rodriguez-Lynn. You're on my Facebook." And I was like, yeah. So nice to meet you. Yeah, we're on Facebook together. And she's like, "You are the most passionate person on ever." Like, she started to say on my feed, and she just modified it right then and there. So I appreciate that. I thought that was great. Apologize for your passion on the day after fucking never. So remember that. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And next week, it's not going to be just me. Next week, I do have a co-host scheduled. And she's a wonderful nerd with her own podcast with her sisters, actually, the Sippin' Sisters. So definitely tune in, and we're going to have more fun. So have a wonderful Halloween, and I'll catch you guys next week. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Since we are podcast newbies, it would mean a lot to us if you'd subscribe and rate us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Also, we love to hear from our listeners. Leave us a voicemail at 785-746-2604. Email us at ask@geekygirlguide.com, or hit us up on social media at Geeky Girl Guide, all one word, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And remember, in the words of the great John Barrowman, never apologize for being nerdy. Until next time.